Chapter 6855. Are you all dreaming? How could a second-grade array master write such an answer? Zhen Gudao rolled his eyes and looked at Qin Jian. City Lord Qin, are you sure there's no problem with this result? Qin Jian was also a little confused and said hesitantly, I've already sent people to check this result several times. There shouldn't be any problems. If that's the case, I'm afraid there's no other explanation other than this one. Fan Xian's eyes were filled with thought. Perhaps this girl's luck is good and her answer is right on point. Thinking back to the situation when they were marking the papers yesterday, because there were too many people who wrote nonsense, as long as it was a more reliable answer, the results were very good. Among them, there was no lack of lucky array masters. As long as their answers were correct, they would be able to obtain good results. Perhaps one of them was Bailey Hongzhuang, but to say that one of the two most outstanding papers belonged to her, he would definitely not believe it. It's best to check this result again later. If we don't get to the bottom of this, I'm afraid it'll be hard to explain to the others. I understand. Qin Jian nodded, feeling a little helpless in his heart. Compared to believing that there was a problem with their calculations, he would rather believe that Bailey Hongzhuang really did have good results. It was because of this girl that the results were always doubted every time. Third place, Wanshui City's Jiang Haihan. Second place, Qianma City's Fan Zihong. Following the appearance of these two popular names, everyone's expression changed again. Almost everyone was sure that Fan Zihong would definitely get first place. They didn't expect him to get second place. Didn't this mean that in this third round, someone's results were better than Fan Zihong and Jiang Haihan's? However, other than the two of them, the other popular array masters' rankings had all been announced. The only one who didn't have a result was everyone's gaze turned to the tall and handsome white figure on the high platform, Yang Lingfeng. Why do I feel like this scene is strangely familiar? Yang Qinxue, I think so too. Yang Han, that was when the results of the first round were announced. Yang Lingfeng's eyes lit up. Doesn't that mean? Just as he was about to say something that made his heart surge, a dazzling line of words appeared on the ranking board. First place, Bewitching of Qinyang City. The dazzling line of words almost blinded everyone's eyes. This time, there was no eruption of cheers. The entire venue was deathly silent. After seeing Fan Zihang's name, everyone already had some premonition in their hearts. But when all of this really happened, everyone still found it hard to believe. Damn, it's really him. This is probably the biggest dark horse in the history of the Array Master competition. Isn't this too exaggerated? Didn't he just arrive in the chaotic immortal realm not long ago? His array skills are actually above Fan Zihang's? Shen Xing and Ning Tian's eyes lit up. They hadn't seen wrong. Di Beichen was truly a genius. They didn't expect that Di Beichen would win first place in this competition, which was just a test of the waters. I can't believe that the genius we've been looking for is actually Beichen. Chapter 6856. Apart from the disciple of that expert, there was probably no one else who could achieve such an outstanding result. Thus, he wasn't too surprised when he heard this result. Unlike Shen Xing, Ning Tian and the other masters all had the same expression. They looked at Di Beichen as if they were looking at a treasure. An unpolished gem like him would most likely surpass them in the field of array formations in the future if he spent a little more time on it. Zhen Gudao's expression darkened. He would rather this result belong to anyone else but Di Beichen, but it just had to be him. Shen Duanyu sat down in his chair in a daze. This result was like a sharp knife stabbing into his heart. First place? He's actually first place? Shen Duanyu muttered to himself. Yang Lingfeng screamed like a madman. He grabbed Di Beichen with both hands and said excitedly, Beichen, did you see that? You're actually first place. Di Beichen, I saw it. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? I know everything. Yang Lingfeng excitedly gave Di Beichen a hug. Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang turned around. This scene was as if Yang Lingfeng was the one who had won first place. They were just short of standing on the stage and bowing in gratitude. This. Yang Qinshue's reaction wasn't any better. She clutched her chest with both hands and said, This is too exciting. Bai Qingli smiled faintly. Looks like our insomnia last night was worth it. This result was beyond everyone's expectations. It was simply too astonishing. After a brief moment of joy, voices of doubt also sounded. Could there be some kind of shady deal? Bewitching is just a newbie. It's impossible for him to win first place in his first competition. He's a prodigy. Otherwise, the two masters wouldn't have taken a liking to him. Zhen Gudao looked at Qin Jian. He felt that there must be something wrong with this matter. However, he had personally looked through the contents of the paper. Even if Shen Xing and Ning Tian worked together, they couldn't have analyzed it so clearly. Therefore, there was no possibility of cheating at all. When Qin Jian saw Bailey Hongzhuang's results, he had some doubts in his heart. Perhaps he had seen wrongly? After seeing Bewitching's results, he was certain that his judgment was not wrong. The two papers that had amazed the five masters must have been written by Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, they were husband and wife. Everyone, please calm down. There is absolutely no problem with the results this time. Qin Jian's attitude was incomparably firm, directly suppressing everyone's doubts. Next, the results of the third stage will be revealed, and everyone will find the source of their doubts. Not only were the busybodies curious, even Yang Han and the others were looking at the rankings curiously. With the changes in Bewitching's and Hongzhuang's rankings, it was likely that the two of them would have to obtain first and second place to pass the third round, right? Bai Qingli frowned slightly. Bewitching was first in the first round, but he's 10th in the second round. Even if he obtained first place in the third round, his total score shouldn't be enough to obtain first place. What nonsense are you talking about? Yang Lingfeng instinctively refuted Bai Qingli. However, after thinking about it carefully, he realized that she was right. Chapter 6857. Fan Ziheng placed third in the first round and first in the second round. Could it be that his results in the third round were too bad? As soon as he said this, everyone looked at Yang Lingfeng in silence. No one said anything, but their expressions said it all. Fan Ziheng has always been a genius. The possibility of him making a mistake is very small. Bai Qingli's expression was serious. He had paid attention to Fan Ziheng. This person's foundation in array techniques was very solid. It was basically impossible for his results to plummet. Moreover, even if Fan Ziheng made a mistake, there was still Jiang Haihan. Everyone's expression became very strange. It couldn't be that there was a problem with the results, right? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. As long as they could enter the top 10, it was not a big problem for them. Fan Ziheng was fine, but Jiang Haihan. When she thought that Zhen Gudao's disciples' ranking would surpass Bewitching's, she was really unhappy. Fourth place, Wanshui City's Jiang Haihan. Third place, Qianma City's Fan Ziheng. Second place, Qingyang City's Bailey Hongzhuang. First place, Qingyang City's Bewitching. Seeing such a ranking, everyone understood in their hearts. However, the problem still remained. These two little guys really exceeded my expectations. Ning Tian smiled proudly as she cast a sidelong glance at Zhen Gudao. This guy usually relied on the fact that he had an outstanding disciple to insult her, but now he was speechless as well. At this moment, Jiang Haihan suddenly bowed and said, "City Lord Qin, this one has a question. I hope everyone can answer it." "Please speak." Young Master D's performance was very outstanding. There is no doubt about that. However, from the overall results of the 3 rounds, the highest should be young Master Fan, not him. Jiang Haihan immediately noticed the problem. It was not her first time participating in the competition, so she was very clear about the process. Obviously, there was a problem with the rankings. Everyone noticed the loophole, and for a moment, there was an uproar. Yang Lingfeng sighed, "My prayers were in vain." Yang Qinxue rolled her eyes. Everyone is waiting for an opportunity to catch Bewitching's weakness. Naturally, they won't miss such an opportunity. How could there be such a problem with the score? Yang Han frowned. Judging from this score, Bewitching had no problem getting into the top 5. This result would also make everyone feel very surprised, but now that there was a first place, and then there was a problem with the ranking, this score would undoubtedly be greatly reduced in everyone's hearts. There's a problem with the score. Let's recalculate, everyone suggested. A glimmer of light appeared in Fan Ziheng's eyes. He found it hard to accept that he had been defeated by a newcomer who had suddenly appeared. Now that such a problem had occurred, it undoubtedly gave him a glimmer of hope. However, he suddenly noticed that his father was shaking his head at him. Fan Ziheng could not help but be startled. He was even more puzzled as to what exactly had gone wrong. In the face of everyone's doubts, Qin Jian was very calm. This question should be answered by the 5 masters. Everyone subconsciously looked at Ning Tian. Ning Tian and Di Beichen had an unusual relationship, but the one who stood up was Fan Xian. Chapter 68-58. If Di Beichen was ranked 10th in the second round, then in the third round, he left the third-ranked formation master behind by more than 100 places. Because the gap between them is just too big, we can't ignore it. That's why the 5 of us came up with this result after a discussion, Fan Xian explained calmly. Fan Xian calmly stated this fact. When they looked at the 2 papers, they unanimously informed Qin Jian of this decision. Such a genius deserved such a reward. However, they never thought that the 2 of them would be Di Beichen and Fan Xian. Following Fan Xian's words, the crowd couldn't help but gasp in surprise. There was indeed a problem with the rankings, but it was a result that the 5 masters agreed on. If Ning Tian had been the one to explain this, they might not have believed it. However, since it was Master Fan who said it, it meant that there really was no problem. So that's how it is. Yang Han sighed in relief and smiled. Bai Ziyuan looked at the 2 young people behind him and smiled. What a gift from the heavens. I just relied on luck. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. If Di Beichen hadn't told her about this formation before, she probably wouldn't have made it into the top 100, let alone the top 10. Luck is also a part of one's strength. However, we've really struck it rich this time. Yang Lingfeng said excitedly. This is the first time I've felt that our Qingyang city's name is so dazzling. We've never appeared on this list before. This time, we're really satisfied. Shi Hai didn't make it into the top 100, so he never saw his name on the list. Thinking back to his disdain for Di Beichen and Fan Xian, he felt his face heat up. It was really embarrassing. At this moment, Fan Ziheng finally understood the meaning behind Fan Xian's shaking of his head. He swallowed the unwillingness in his heart. To be able to make his father make such a decision, it meant that the other party was really outstanding. Jiang Haihan was a little unwilling, but she still kept her mouth shut. She wasn't an idiot like Shen Duanyu, who left such a big topic for others to use. Next, the top 10 array masters, please step up to the high platform to receive your rewards, Qin Jian announced with a smile. There was a commotion in the crowd. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen walked up together. As the 10 array masters appeared on the stage, Ning Tian stepped forward and walked forward at a steady pace. She began to give out the rewards to the top 10 cultivators. The rewards this time are cultivation resources and books on array techniques. The opportunity to comprehend the monument will only be available after the competition ends, Qin Jian reminded. Ning Tian looked at everyone with a smile. Congratulations on obtaining such an outstanding ranking. You are all very outstanding array masters. I hope that you will obtain even better results. Thank you, Master. Chapter 68-60. When they arrived at their residence in Cloud City and saw that no one had come to look for them, they let out a sigh of relief. Let's go in and rest. Bai Ziyuan called out. Today's result was really unexpected. In such a difficult third round, you actually obtained such a good result that even the 5 grandmasters were shocked. Di Beichen, we've seen this array before. So that's how it is, no wonder. Bai Ziyuan's eyes were deep, filled with countless emotions. Heroes are created by circumstances, and luck is a part of strength. Bai Ziyuan stared at the 2 in front of him, his mouth opened and closed, wanting to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Qingli, if you want to say something, just say it. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed his expression and took the initiative to speak. Bai Qingli was a bit hesitant, then said, now that your status is different from before, All the major cities are vying to invite you to join. Once you join, your treatment and influence will be different. People walk towards higher places. This is how it should be. However, the reason why these city lords are so enthusiastic is inseparable from the perception monument. For your own long-term benefits, no matter what the other party offers, it's best not to hand over this quota. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Yang Lingfeng had already said this to her, so it could be seen that the perception monument was not an ordinary opportunity. Don't worry, we won't hand over this quota. Bai Ziyuan and Bai Qingli sighed. The two of them were originally from Cloud City, and this time, they were participating in the competition under the name of Qingyang City, so they had missed a great opportunity. However, judging from their soaring momentum, even if their cities were to participate in the competition, they would not be able to stay after the competition ended. We don't have any plans to leave. Di Beichen's deep and magnetic voice suddenly rang out. Bai Ziyuan was stunned, but also somewhat surprised. We don't have any plans to go to other cities for the time being. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Gong Jun's shop had just started and needed some time to stabilize. Moreover, the matter of the illusory form orb had not been settled yet. Most importantly, they were going to an unfamiliar city. The other party only cared about the benefits they could bring, unlike Shiyun City and Qingyang City, who were friends. Hearing this, Bai Ziyuan and the other man couldn't help but reveal a joyful smile. It was really hard to believe that they would choose to stay under such circumstances. At this moment, an array master ran in and said with a complicated expression, "City Lord, we discovered that many people are rushing over here. I'm afraid they already know that young Master D and the others are here." Bai Ziyuan's expression changed slightly when he heard that. He said, "Since you don't plan to go to other cities, it's best that you don't come into direct contact with these city lords to avoid offending them." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "Where are we going now?" Another array master suddenly ran in. "Young Master D, Miss Bailey, Grandmaster Shen sent someone to invite you over for a chat." Bailey Hongzhuang heaved a sigh of relief. "All right, we'll go right away." Master Shen must have guessed that you would encounter such a situation, so he specially invited you over. At Master Shen's place, the other city lords will not go over. Chapter 68-61. Before the other city lords arrived, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had already sped up and quickly headed to Master Shen's residence. Along the way, some people also noticed them, but when everyone realized that the people beside them were Master Shen's attendants, they understood. "You're here." Shen Xing looked at the two familiar figures, and a faint smile appeared on her usually gentle face. "Were you almost surrounded when you returned to your residence?" Di Beichen, if Master Shen's invitation had been a little slower, we might not have been able to get out. Ning Tian laughed cheerfully. "That scene happens almost every year, but because you two little guys are new and the strength of the cities you belong to isn't very strong, everyone is even more unscrupulous. You've really surprised us this time. However, how did you manage to see through the formation of the third stage?" A curious look appeared on Shen Xing's face. Initially, they had already decided that they had to invite the top two formation masters for a chat. However, after learning that they were these two little guys, the invitation process became even simpler. "We've seen this array before," Di Beichen said frankly. "You've seen it before?" Ning Tian's eyes lit up. "Where did you see it? With your current strength, you shouldn't be able to see through such an array without someone explaining it." "Of course, my master explained it," Di Beichen said casually. Anyway, Shen Xing already knew about Zhongli Sharon's existence, so he might as well push all the blame to his master, and they wouldn't have any doubts. When Beichen's master was explaining, I was also listening, so I have some understanding, Bailey Hongzhuang said. Sure enough, after hearing all this, Shen Xing showed an expression of sudden realization. I think only an array master like the master can understand such an array and analyze it so thoroughly. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her lips and smiled. Of course, Beichen's master is a master. Ning Tian looked at the three people in front of her and couldn't help but frown. Which master is it? How could he be so powerful? How can the name of the expert be revealed so casually? All you need to know is that he's a very powerful expert, Shenxing said. Ning Tian looked at Shenxing suspiciously. Ever since a while ago, this guy had often mentioned a certain expert, and the word worship was written all over his face. However, whenever Ning Tian wanted to ask about this expert, he would shut his mouth. It was really uncomfortable. Forget it. I won't ask. Ning Tian waved her hand. What do you plan to do next? You plan to comprehend the steals? The two of you have some foresight. You didn't sell the quota to others. Those who did are all idiots. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Why did she feel that Master Ning was very angry when he said the word idiot? Chapter 68-63. Ning Tian. Was this kid trying to piss him off? Shenxing looked at Ning Tian's constantly changing expression, and she was also quite amused. There were countless young people who wanted to become Ning Tian's disciple. Now, Ning Tian wanted to become someone else's master, but that person didn't want to. Are you sure you'll be fine just by looking at the formation book? Ning Tian's eyes narrowed. Why hadn't he realized that this kid was so stubborn? Bewitching, it shouldn't be a problem. He had already flipped through a few pages of the formation book. Shenxing had already given him a book that introduced how to break through from a third-rank formation master to a fourth-rank formation master. Even though he hadn't read the formation book that was awarded during the competition, he was sure that it would be very informative, so he was confident that he would be able to self-study. Ning Tian, he was completely convinced. Do you know how many people you've infuriated with your stubbornness? Shenxing suddenly said. Ning Tian shot a cold glance at Shenxing and gritted his teeth. I am indeed quite detestable. Seeing as you've already made up your mind, I won't say anything else. Ning Tian cast this thought aside. I told you that I would award you the position of Formation Master after the competition. Even though you didn't take part in the Formation Master assessment, I have a better understanding of your formation skills from your performances in the second stage. Here, this is your Array Formation Master's badge. Ning Tian pulled out 2 badges and handed one to Bewitching and one to Bailey Hongzhuang. If you find that your formation skills have improved, you can go directly to the Formation Master Guild to take the advancement assessment. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the white badge in her hand. There were 2 small stars engraved on it, and an elated smile appeared on her face. This badge was not to be underestimated. With this badge, it would save them a lot of trouble. However, after looking at the badges in her hand and then at Bewitching's badge, she couldn't help but ask, why is Bewitching's badge red? That's the badge that the Formation Master who takes first place in the Formation Master competition has, Shenxing explained with a smile. Shenxing explained with a faint smile. Normal Formation Masters have white badges, and the higher the rank, the more stars they have. However, the champion of the Array Formation Master competition has a special privilege. Their badge is red. Even if they participate in the advancement test and change to a new badge, it will still be red. This is a kind of honor. Bailey Hongzhuang picked up Bewitching's badge and compared the 2 badges. The Array Master's badge felt very good, but after comparing the 2 badges, she found that Bewitching's badge was not only different in color, but also heavier in weight. Obviously, the material of this badge was different as well. The designer had really put a lot of thought into it. If you're worried that other people will come looking for you before you head to the Enlightenment Stele, then why don't you stay here for the time being and come with us? Shenxing suggested. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bewitching. This was indeed a good idea. Bewitching said, it's up to you. Bailey Hongzhuang bowed and said, then I'll have to trouble the 2 of you. Ning Tian looked at Bewitching's attitude toward Bailey Hongzhuang, and she began to wonder if she had chosen the wrong target. Maybe if Bailey Hongzhuang agreed, this kid wouldn't refuse. Chapter 68-64. In the blink of an eye, the day had arrived. Early in the morning, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were already ready to set off. They had stayed here for 2 days and had interacted with the 2 masters many times, many of which had benefited them greatly. However, Bailey Hongzhuang also realized that Master Ning simply couldn't wait for Bewitching to come and ask him for guidance. Unfortunately, a certain someone just wouldn't let Master Ning have his way, You've packed up quite quickly. Ning Tian glanced at Bewitching. It was clear that he had suffered internal injuries from holding it in for the past 2 days and had nowhere to vent his anger. Have you figured out the answer to the question I gave you yesterday? Bewitching handed a piece of paper to Ning Tian. This is my answer. Shen Xing also came over when he saw this. Even if Bewitching had some questions over the past 2 days, he would mostly communicate with him. Ning Tian was very anxious to see this, so he had come up with this question last night. If Bewitching could answer it, then so be it. If he couldn't, then he would have to study under him for a month. He had also seen this question before. It could be said that this question was at the top of the range of third-rank formation masters. Ning Tian looked at Bewitching with a smug expression. He had spent a lot of effort to come up with this question, so he didn't believe that this kid could answer it correctly. However, his smug expression didn't last for more than 3 seconds. When he saw the content of the question clearly, his expression also became very astonished. You actually answered it all? Bewitching was as calm as the wind. It wasn't very difficult. Ning Tian, Shen Xing laughed loudly. Just give up, Ning Tian. Bewitching's talent in this area isn't something that ordinary people can compare to. Even if he were to self-study, with his comprehension ability, it wouldn't be a problem at all. Ning Tian silently looked at this extraordinarily good-looking guy in front of him for a moment. However, he had no choice but to admit that Shen Xing was telling the truth. This guy was a natural-born formation master. His comprehension ability in this area was simply uncanny. Fine, I'll let it go this time. However, we'll have the chance to meet again sooner or later, Ning Tian said with some reluctance. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. She didn't expect Grandmaster Ning to have such a proud side. When Bewitching and Qin Jian met up with the other array masters, they realized that Qin Jian and the other 3 array masters were there as well. I was wondering where the champion of the competition went. It turns out that he was with the 2 masters. When Qin Jian saw the 2 of them, he understood what was going on. I saw that everyone has been looking for them these past 2 days, so I guess that they must have gone to your place. Fan Xian chuckled. No one dared to rashly disturb the residence of the 2 grandmasters. These 2 fellows can't be compared to you. Ning Tian waved her hand casually. Since everyone is here, let's set off. Zhen Gudao's expression was dark as he looked at Bewitching. He hadn't thought that Ning Tian would actually be so considerate, directly escorting the 2 little fellows back. Otherwise, even if these 2 fellows had to hand over their spots in the comprehension steals, it would have been extremely good. Sensing that faintly discernible gaze, Bewitching turned to look at Zhen Gudao before silently retracting his gaze. Zhen Gudao shouldn't be able to do anything in this comprehension steals, Bailey Hongzhuang said in a low voice. With the 2 grandmasters watching, he wouldn't dare to be too brazen. Chapter 68-65. After passing through a teleportation formation, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived at a very special place. It was a white world. As far as the eye could see, it was a white world. The naked eye could only see a 2-meter radius. The dreamy environment was like a fairyland. Even the people next to them seemed to be tainted with a trace of fairyland. Looking into the distance, he could faintly see numerous stone tablets that were faintly discernible, and they emitted a heavy and powerful aura. So this is the comprehension tablets. Bailey Hongzhuang looked around emotionally. She could feel a powerful aura coming from the surroundings. The entire world was emitting a wonderful charm. This is the comprehension tablets. Ning Tianxiao looked at the 2 of them. You can enter the comprehension tablets later. However, you'll only be in there for 7 days. If you don't gain anything in these 7 days, you must come out. You must not stay here. If you miss the opportunity to leave, you won't be able to come out again. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly when she saw the master's solemn expressions. This place was so mysterious. Presumably, even the masters did not have a way to escape unscathed. In other words, the chaotic immortal realm only knew some of the uses of this place. There were more unknowns. The comprehension tablets are only opened once every 10 years. Only 10 people are allowed to enter each time. Usually, cultivators will gain their own comprehension. However, it's not like there haven't been people who didn't gain anything. Everything depends on one's luck. There are many things that you don't understand here. If you're not careful, you might lose your life. Therefore, you must be careful. We'll remember Master's teachings, the 10 formation masters said in unison. In the next instant, the origin energy in the 5 masters' bodies surged and turned into a huge handprint. It emitted a powerful force that dispersed the fog in front of everyone. The light seemed to have broken through the fog and showed them a path. Follow this path and enter. After 7 days, follow this path and come out. We'll be waiting for you here. Now, you may enter. As City Lord Qin's voice fell, everyone did not hesitate and walked in one after another. As soon as they entered the comprehension tablets, Bailey Hongzhuang realized that the comprehension tablets that looked very crowded at first were actually very wide apart. It was far beyond their imagination. The comprehension tablets emitted different auras. Some were warm, some were cold, some were dark, and some were lively. There were all kinds of auras. Some of the tablets would be friendly to them, while some would be cold and repulsive. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang understood why the master told them to experience it themselves. This was a world that could not be measured by other things. They could only go through one's senses. Not long after she walked in, she had already sensed that some of the stone tablets were relatively close to her. However, she did not stop because of this, because Master Shen had once said that the gains obtained from the depths of the tablet were often even more precious. Not only them, but Fan Ziheng and the others were also constantly venturing deeper. Chapter 68-66. As they went deeper into the forest, their field of vision widened a little. Everyone no longer walked together, but scattered and walked separately. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen kept moving forward. They had no intention of separating for the time being. Hi Han, these two people don't seem to have any intention of separating. What should we do? Don't worry so much. Let's follow them first. It won't be too late for us to make a move when we reach a place where others can't see. Since they don't want to separate, the two of them can only die together. A trace of coldness appeared in Jiang Haihan's eyes. These two newcomers with no background dared to be so arrogant just because they were favored by the two masters. They deserve to be taught a lesson. Forgive me, they are people that the two masters think highly of. If something happens here, I'm afraid everyone will easily suspect us. The man frowned slightly. If it weren't for the good conditions offered by Jiang Haihan, he wouldn't have dared to take the risk. It's good that the two masters think highly of them, but there hasn't been any news of accepting them as disciples for so long. How good can they be? Once they become two dead people, all their value will dissipate. Jiang Haihan didn't care. She had been paying attention to the movements of the two masters for the past 2 days. Until she was sure that the two masters hadn't accepted any disciples, she made up her mind. If they really thought highly of these two people, it was impossible for them not to accept them as disciples. This person had already formed a grudge with them. If they developed in the future, it would inevitably make them unhappy. It was better to kill them directly and eliminate all future troubles. As they went deeper, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen rejected many stone tablets that had a friendly aura. They didn't stop walking. Wife, be careful. Di Beichen suddenly held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly. Noticing the strangeness, a trace of doubt appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Did something happen? It seems that some people can't hold back. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Is it Jiang Haihan? Among all the formation masters who entered, only Jiang Haihan had the deepest hatred with them. Although Fan Ziheng didn't like them, from Master Fan's performance, he probably wouldn't kill them because of this. Di Beichen, yes. Aren't their guts a little too big? Only 10 people have entered the comprehension monument. Once we die, everyone will suspect them. Aren't they afraid? Once we're dead, we won't be of any value. Plus, there's no concrete evidence pointing to them. Even if the two masters know about it, they won't do anything on the surface. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Isn't that perfect? We can get rid of him while we're at it. That's exactly what I wanted. The two of them sped up their departure speed and flew forward at top speed. Noticing Di Beichen's sudden increase in speed, Jiang Haihan's expression changed slightly. Did they discover something? Even if they find out now, it's too late. Let's get rid of them as quickly as possible. Jiang Haihan's expression was gloomy. The opportunity to enter the Enlightenment Monument was very precious. He did not want to waste too much time on these two people. In the next instant, the two of them also flew forward. When they came to an open space, the two of them realized that they had lost track of them. A trace of annoyance appeared on their faces. I didn't expect them to be so fast. Jiang Haihan's expression was extremely ugly. Chapter 68-67. Jiang Haihan looked around. Earlier, he had noticed two shadows passing by nearby. Logically speaking, they should be nearby. Just when the two of them were hesitating whether the other party had really run away, a devilish voice suddenly sounded. Are you looking for us? It was a familiar voice with a different accent. It had an inexplicable chill, causing the two of them to stiffen. They turned around and saw that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang, who had disappeared earlier, had appeared behind them. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the person beside her. She had only seen this person during the award ceremony and did not know much about him. The two of you have some guts. You actually dared to take the initiative to appear. Jiang Haihan quickly recovered from her shock and looked at the two of them coldly. Her eyes were already filled with murderous intent. Young Master Jiang has spent so much effort to find a good opportunity for us. Naturally, we won't let your efforts go to waste. Bewitching's eyes were filled with contempt. He had thought that Jiang Haihan was stronger than Shen Duanyu. Now, it seemed that none of Zhen Gudao's disciples were smart. Jiang Haihan's expression changed slightly. A guy who has just arrived in the chaotic immortal realm dares to speak so arrogantly. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Shen Duanyu thought so too. Don't compare me with that trash. Jiang Haihan's eyes were filled with disgust and contempt. I'll do what he can't do. Consider this a charity from me, his former senior brother. Heh. A faint and hoarse laugh came from Bewitching's chest. His eyes, which were as deep as 10,000 years of ice, were filled with murderous intent. Tang Yuanhui, who was at the side, lowered his voice and reminded, Haihan, these two fellows look a little strange. Let's end this quickly. If it were an ordinary person, they would have already fled in such a situation. However, these two fellows dared to rush over. There must be something wrong. Do it. Jiang Haihan took a step forward and attacked Bewitching viciously. Even if it was a silent sneak attack, Bewitching's reaction speed was extremely fast, and the sneak attack did not succeed. Instead, he easily dodged the attack. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flashed and attacked Tang Yuanhui. Her moves were as dense and powerful as a storm. None of them had much time to waste here. The most important thing was to take each other's lives as soon as possible. After this exchange, Jiang Haihan realized that although Bewitching was young, his combat power was not weak. He did not fall into a disadvantageous position. Damn it! Jiang Haihan cursed inwardly. He really didn't expect this kid's combat effectiveness to be so outstanding. If he had known earlier, he would have found another helper. That way, he wouldn't have to expend so much effort. Bewitching raised his hand, and a trap and kill array was formed, trapping Jiang Haihan within it. What a joke! Jiang Haihan's eyes sharpened. Similarly, a kill array was formed. The two arrays directly enveloped the two of them together. After seeing Bewitching and Jiang Haihan locked in a fierce battle, Tang Yuanhui suddenly approached Bailey Hongzhuang and quickly retreated. There was a trace of joy in his eyes. However, in just a moment, his expression had already frozen. He saw Bailey Hongzhuang holding a silver needle between her fingers. There was a trace of ridicule in her eyes. You poisoned me? Chapter 68-68. You actually poisoned a poison master? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Her delicate face was instantly dyed with a trace of enchantment and evil charm. Could it be that you're also a poison master? She felt that Tang Yuanhui's sudden move was very familiar, so she was on her guard. She didn't expect him to use such a familiar move. Poison master? Tang Yuanhui was dumbfounded. He subconsciously asked, You're a poison master? Before you take action, isn't your investigation a little too incomplete? The woman's lips curled into a cold smile. Her disdainful black eyes emitted a deep luster, as if there was a faint bloody glow floating in them. Seeing the woman admit it like this, Tang Yuanhui's face instantly turned pale. He had come into contact with a poison master before, and this move of his was also taught by a poison master. Due to the fact that the time in the Enlightenment Monument was too precious, he wanted to settle this as soon as possible. However, he never knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was actually a poison master. How frightening was a poison master? He knew it too well. Since you like to use poison too, why don't we compete in the art of poison? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a playful smile. She had already put away her sharp sword, and the silver needles quietly appeared between her fingers. No. Tang Yuanhui panicked. A poison master was the most frightening profession in his eyes. Cultivators of the same level simply had no ability to resist a poison master. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't give him any chance to escape. Since you have the guts to kill us, you should be mentally prepared. Even though Tang Yuanhui tried his best to dodge, there were still needles that pierced into his body. Alright, it's over. Bailey Hongzhuang clapped her hands. She looked at him disdainfully as if she was looking at an inanimate object, emitting the arrogance of a poison master. His body seemed to have fallen into lava, emitting an astonishing heat. A terrifying burning sensation seemed to be burning him into flames. Death. That was the feeling of death. Tang Yuanhui looked at the woman in front of him in horror. He never thought that he would end up like this. I beg you, let me go. He crawled in front of Bailey Hongzhuang, pleading with her. In your dreams. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered, her indifferent eyes devoid of any humanity. At this time, Bewitching and Jiang Haihan broke free from the trapping array and jumped out again. After seeing Tang Yuanhui kneeling and begging for mercy, Jiang Haihan's heart sank. Tang Yuanhui was defeated in such a short period of time? Could it be that this woman who didn't seem to have any fighting strength was actually so terrifying? Almost in the blink of an eye, Jiang Haihan had already judged the situation clearly. He could not stay here any longer, or only death would await him. An obstruction formation suddenly appeared, and Jiang Haihan flew towards it without hesitation. Bewitching's figure was obstructed for a moment before he quickly chased after him. If this guy slipped away, he would definitely be a disaster. Bailey Hongzhuang also increased her speed. To cut the weeds, one must remove the roots. Jiang Haihan burst out with her fastest speed, rushing forward constantly, only wanting to shake off Bewitching and Jiang Haihan. However, right at this moment, a terrifying voice suddenly resounded. Roar! An earth-shattering roar of a beast. Just one roar was enough to make the ground shake and the mountains shake. It was terrifying. Chapter 68-72. This kind of opportunity, no matter how precious the cultivation resources are, can't be exchanged. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. She didn't know what other people would gain, but she was very satisfied with her own gains. These pill recipes and experience could not be replaced by anything else. As long as her alchemy skills improved, it would be more convenient for her to travel the immortal region in the future. I wonder how much time has passed? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with doubt. Ever since she entered the Enlightenment Monument, she had forgotten the passage of time. She also didn't know how long she had been inside. Just as she was hesitating, she suddenly saw a light in front of her. Taking a closer look, she confirmed that this light should be the path illuminated by the 5 great masters. Shi Yun City. In the room, Gong Jun gazed into the distance, a faint smile appearing in his eyes. Beside him, a black-clothed man also had a relaxed expression. Master should have already opened the second seal. Gong Jun smiled faintly. After so many years, that fellow has been talking about Master all day long. Now it has finally seen you. It's a pity that Master has only opened the second seal. I'm afraid that fellow won't be able to stop it from coming, the man said regretfully. So what? It's only a matter of time. Gong Jun's eyes were deep and serene. Master is a genius. Even if he can't do it this time, as long as another seal is opened, that fellow will be able to break free from the shackles inside and come out on its own. Are we really not going to report this news to the palace, Lord? The man in black had a complicated expression. The eldest princess has already sent people everywhere to search for your whereabouts. Actually, the eldest princess won't harm Master. Gong Jun's eyes turned sharp and a frightening aura exploded. His malicious and ruthless appearance was no longer as simple and honest as it usually was. He was like a demon from hell, emitting a biting coldness. Remember this clearly. The person we have to be loyal to is Master, not anyone else. Even if others are doing it for Master's sake, we only have to listen to Master's orders. If you say such things again, I'll chop you up and feed you to the dogs. The man's expression immediately turned pale and he quickly knelt down. Young Master Gong, I won't dare to do it again. Don't let me find out that you leaked a single word. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Gong Jun's expression was cold. The man's body trembled. He knew very well how terrifying Gong Jun's methods were. Because he had found his master, Gong Jun's mood had improved a lot, but he would never forget Gong Jun's cold and frightening side. This subordinate doesn't dare. This subordinate swears to follow Master till death. Gong Jun retracted his gaze. When the man realized that the terrifying pressure had disappeared, he let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 68-73. Fan Xian looked at Fan Ziheng with a smile. He was not in a hurry to ask about the harvest. In fact, anyone who entered the Enlightenment Steels would have a much better harvest than the outside world. You guys are quite fast. 3 of you have already returned. The remaining 7 should be back soon too. Xin Xing smiled. He had a feeling that Bewitching would be able to obtain some inheritance related to array techniques here. After all, this kid's attainments in array techniques were really too heaven-defying. Zhen Gudao's gaze also fell on the layers of Enlightenment Steels. He knew Jiang Haihan's plan this time. With him and Tang Yuanhui working together, it should not be difficult to deal with these 2 newcomers. However, he also had to be prepared. With Ning Tian's personality, once she saw that Bewitching did not return, she would definitely suspect them. When that time came, he would have to protect Jiang Haihan well and not let the other party make the accusation true. Just as everyone was talking, another 2 array masters walked back. Ning Tian and the others had smiles on their faces. Although there might be some danger in the Enlightenment Steels, the frequency of it happening was still very low. In the past few times they entered the Enlightenment Steels, nothing dangerous had happened. When Bailey Hongzhuang returned, she found that her speed was much faster than before. It was as if there was wind behind her, her speed was very fast. Not long after, she saw a few familiar figures in the distance. Little girl Bailey, you're back? Xin Xing smiled and waved. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly walked into the group. Only then did she realize that Bewitching had not returned yet. She immediately turned her gaze to the Enlightenment Steels. The moment Zhen Gudao saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear, his expression froze for a moment. How did this guy come back alive? Before Jiang Haihan left, she had already made it very clear that she would do her best to not let either of them escape. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared here, did it not mean that there had been some changes in the plan? Perhaps Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang had separated after entering the Enlightenment Steels, so Jiang Haihan and Zhen Gudao did not see Bailey Hongzhuang. Zhen Gudao's heart sank. Apart from this possibility, there was clearly no other possibility. Fortunately, the biggest threat was Bewitching. As long as Bewitching was dead, Bailey Hongzhuang would not be able to cause any trouble. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Zhen Gudao's expression, and her expression immediately became very strange. She knew that Zhen Gudao had instructed Jiang Haihan to do this, but the result was destined to disappoint him. Zhen Gudao also noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze, and he suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of guilt. Could it be that this girl already knew? Bailey Hongzhuang, what are you looking at? I heard that you won first place in the Array Master competition. I didn't know what was going on at first, but a few days ago, a lot of people suddenly rushed into the Immortal Treasure Pavilion like crazy and bought all the array stones. It was only when everything in the store was sold out that I found out that you won first place. Gong Jun's tone could not help but rise. Boss, you're too awesome. He just casually participated in a competition, and he actually won first place. Isn't that Shen Duanyu exploding with anger? Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised when she saw Gong Jun, but after thinking about it, she knew that he must have come to Qingyang City after hearing the news. Madam, don't worry. They're doing very well. Gong Jun held a drumstick in one hand and said as he ate, they seem to have been quite busy recently. Zhongli Mu and the others have gone out to train, and Big Brother and the others aren't at home. Basically, they all have their own plans. Chapter 68-86. Is there a human over there? A rock looked ahead excitedly, its eyes filled with excitement and curiosity. Hearing the rock's voice, a fox also quickly came over. With one look, it was also shocked. I heard that humans can stand and walk, and they can even wear clothes. It seems like they look like this? Don't talk nonsense. Not far away, the male lion walked over with a look of disdain. Since when did we have a human in this place? You two are just making things up. Lion, this time, we're not lying to you. The fox revealed a rare serious look. Quickly come and take a look. Could it be that you've seen a demonic beast like this before? The lion took a closer look. When it saw that white figure, its expression became very strange. I've indeed never seen this demonic beast before. Could it be that there's another mutation in the ape clan? Don't talk nonsense. The rock flapped its wings. It's not like you don't know what those fellows from the ape clan look like. Are they as good-looking as that white fellow? The lion nodded. That's true. This is the first time I've seen such a fellow. Why don't we go and ask her if she's a human? The three demonic beasts looked at each other and nodded in agreement. Bailey Hongzhuang was sitting on the grass to rest. She had already walked for a distance, but the scenery around her had not changed. The most important thing was that based on the environment here, it did not look like there were humans living here. So she could be sure that the place where humans lived must be quite a distance away from here. However, there was nothing in the surroundings that could help her judge. She could only rely on blind guesses to choose a direction and continue moving forward. Just at this moment, she suddenly heard footsteps behind her. Turning her head, Bailey Hongzhuang met with three pairs of eyes. Look, this fellow really looks like a human. Bailey Hongzhuang, looks like a human? She was originally a human, all right? Hey, white fellow, are you a human? The fox went to Bailey Hongzhuang's side and sniffed. Immediately, a look of surprise appeared on its face. Wow, it smells so good. What the hell are you doing? Xiao He reached out and pressed the fox's head back down. Where did this fellow come from? Why is he trying to get close to Master without saying anything? Oh, so there's a beast here. It was only then that the fox noticed Xiao He. You look really interesting. I've never seen you before. Hey, have you two met before? Fox looked at Lion and Rock. As expected, the two of them shook their heads. Never seen him before. Are you even human? Rock sized up Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang recovered from her momentary shock. It was obvious that these three silly creatures had never seen a human before. That was why they were behaving so strangely. However, she could feel that the auras of these three fellows were very strong. What kind of place was this?